When a woman begins to share her problems with you, most men make the same mistake. They think she's asking for solutions. But what if that's not what she really wants? What if her words are not a call for help, but a quiet test of your strength? This is where most men lose their balance. They rush in, trying to fix, trying to impress, trying to save. Yet, what she truly wanted was something far simpler and far deeper. Welcome back, gentlemen. Here, we look beyond what's said and dive into what's meant. The topic before us might sound simple, but it cuts into one of the most misunderstood dynamics between men and women. When a woman tells you her problems, she doesn't always want you to fix them. Often, she wants to feel that she's being heard, that her emotions have space, not solutions. And how you handle that moment says everything about your emotional control, your maturity, and your presence as a man. This is where Stoicism enters the picture. The Stoic man doesn't react. He observes. He listens, not to solve, but to understand. He realizes that peace doesn't come from controlling her emotions, but from mastering his own. And when a woman feels you're calm in the middle of her storm, something powerful happens. She trusts you. Not because you solved her life, but because you didn't lose yourself in it. So, let's unfold this truth together. Why she shares, what it truly means, and what a Stoic man does when the moment arrives. This is where strength meets silence, and presence becomes power. 1. When she opens up. When she opens up, it's not just words coming out of her mouth. It's trust being placed in your hands. Most men underestimate the gravity of that moment. They see it as small talk, a venting session, or a sign of weakness. But the truth is, when a woman chooses to share her worries, fears, or frustrations with you, she's not simply communicating. She's revealing her inner world. And that's something sacred. The way you handle it can either strengthen the bond or quietly destroy it. Now here's where many men fail. They mistake emotional openness for a problem that needs fixing. They jump too quickly to advice, logic, or solutions. They interrupt, analyze, and try to make sense of what she's saying. They believe that by solving her problem, they'll prove their value. But that reaction is often the opposite of what she needs. She's not always looking for a savior. She's looking for someone who can listen without judgment. When she opens up, she's watching how you respond. She's subconsciously testing your stability, not in a manipulative way, but in a natural way that women assess emotional safety. Can you stay calm while she's emotional? Can you remain composed while she unravels? If you can, she begins to see you differently. You become a source of grounding, a man who can handle life without panic. Think of it this way. When a storm passes through, a tree that bends but doesn't break becomes a symbol of strength. You are that tree. Your calmness tells her she's safe to be herself around you. It tells her she doesn't need to hide her emotions or pretend. And when she feels that level of safety, her respect for you grows naturally. But if you respond with impatience or dismissiveness, something shifts. She starts to close up. She may not say it, but she begins to question your emotional depth. To her, it feels like she can't share without being judged or fixed. That's when distance begins to grow. As a man rooted in Stoicism, your role isn't to fix her emotions. It's to understand them without losing yourself. You observe without reacting. You listen not because you need to respond, but because your presence alone is enough. The moment she feels that presence, she relaxes. That's when the connection deepens. When words fade and understanding takes over. So, when she opens up, don't rush to speak. Don't try to make her stop crying or calm down instantly. Just be there. That stillness, that quiet strength, is what separates boys from men. And in that silence, she'll sense something she rarely finds. A man who doesn't just hear her, but truly sees her. This is the first lesson of emotional mastery. When a woman opens up, your reaction reveals who you are far more than your words ever could. 2. The trap of fixing things. Most men grow up believing that their value lies in their ability to solve problems. From a young age, they're taught to fix, to repair, to take action. It's how they're wired to show love and competence. So naturally, when a woman starts sharing her problems, a man's instinct kicks in. He wants to help, to make things better, to find a solution. But this is the very trap that keeps so many men emotionally disconnected from women. The need to fix everything often prevents you from truly understanding what's happening beneath the surface. Let's break it down. When a woman opens up, her goal isn't always to receive a solution. In fact, more often than not, she's seeking emotional connection, not intellectual resolution. For her, expressing feelings is a way of processing them. It's how she makes sense of her world. So when you jump in too quickly with advice, you unintentionally interrupt that emotional process. You cut off the very thing she was trying to express, her vulnerability. What she needed was empathy, not efficiency. This doesn't mean you should stop caring or become detached. It means you must learn to understand the difference between emotional support and problem solving. Emotional support is about presence, staying calm, listening deeply, and validating what she feels without trying to change it. Problem solving, on the other hand, is about logic, plans, and results. Both have their place, but timing is everything. Most men apply logic when emotion is what's needed, and that mismatch creates emotional distance. The Stoic man understands this balance. He knows that wisdom is not just about what to do, but about when to do it. He practices restraint, allowing her to express herself fully before deciding whether advice is even necessary. Sometimes, all she needs is a calm space, a steady man who doesn't make her feel crazy for feeling deeply. That kind of presence can be more powerful than any words of advice. The trap of fixing things is not only emotional, it's also ego-driven. A man's ego feels rewarded when he solves something. But when dealing with emotions, this approach often backfires. You might fix the issue on the surface, but you miss the emotional connection underneath. You end up with a woman who says, "You just don't understand me," not because you didn't try, but because you tried too hard in the wrong way. The solution to this trap lies in awareness. Before you respond, pause. Ask yourself, does she want a solution, or does she just want me to listen? That small moment of reflection separates the impulsive man from the stoic one. It transforms your interactions from transactional to emotional. And when you begin to master that awareness, you'll notice something remarkable. She starts to trust your silence more than your words. So, the next time she shares her problems, resist the urge to fix them. Instead, listen with intention. Be the calm in her chaos, not the mechanic for her emotions. That's where true strength lies, not in what you can fix, but in what you can quietly understand. 3. What she really wants. Let's get real for a moment. When a woman sits beside you and starts pouring her heart out, it's rarely about the surface issue. It's not always about the argument she had with her friend, the stress at work, or the small misunderstandings that fill her day. Beneath those words, what she's truly searching for is emotional safety. A place where she can express herself without feeling small, judged, or silenced. And the way you respond to her in those moments determines whether you'll become her peace or just another problem. Picture this. You're sitting on the couch, and she walks in, visibly upset. She starts talking fast, her voice carrying both frustration and sadness. You try to keep up, but before she even finishes, your mind is already working on a solution. You interrupt gently, offering advice, maybe telling her what she should have done or what you'd do in her place. You mean well, but she suddenly goes quiet. You can see her expression change, and within seconds, she's distant. You ask what's wrong, and she says, nothing. That's the moment most men miss. Not because they don't care, but because they don't understand what she truly wanted. In that moment, she didn't want your answers. She wanted your presence. She wanted to feel that you were emotionally with her, not solving her life, but standing beside her as she walked through it. She wanted to feel that her emotions were safe in your company. And this isn't about weakness, it's about connection. Women connect through emotion the same way men connect through purpose. When you can provide that emotional grounding, you become someone she can trust deeply. Now let's be even more realistic. No man gets this right all the time. You will slip up. You'll try to help when you should listen, and you'll speak when silence would have said more. That's fine. The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. Every time you catch yourself trying to fix, you're training your emotional discipline. You're learning to read between the lines, to see that her frustration might just be a mask for exhaustion, or her complaints might be a quiet cry for comfort. Women, in their essence, are emotional storytellers. When she shares, she's not trying to burden you. She's trying to connect with you. The Stoic man doesn't see her emotion as chaos. He sees it as communication. He listens, not because he agrees with every feeling, but because he respects her humanity enough to hold space for it. That's what she really wants, a man who can listen without losing himself. So, the next time she opens up, don't just hear her words, feel what she's really saying. Look her in the eyes, breathe, and let her know through your stillness that she's safe. That single act, your calm, your focus, your patience, speaks louder than any advice you could ever give. That's what she's been searching for all along. 4. Silence as strength. In every relationship, moments of emotional intensity will arise. A woman might express frustration, sadness, or confusion, and how you handle that moment determines the direction of the connection. Many men fall into predictable patterns. They either say too much or too little, react emotionally, or try to suppress the situation entirely. Understanding the rights and wrongs in these moments is key to mastering your emotional presence. Stoicism teaches that true strength is not loud or reactive. It's quiet, grounded, and self-aware. That's where silence becomes your greatest weapon. Not the silence of ignorance, but the silence of wisdom. Let's start with what most men get wrong. The first mistake is interrupting. You might think you're helping by sharing your thoughts mid-conversation, but interruption often feels like invalidation. It sends a subtle message that her emotions make you uncomfortable or that your viewpoint is more important than her feelings. The second mistake is defensiveness. When her emotions spill over, some men take it personally and fight back with logic or irritation. That only escalates the tension. The third mistake is emotional withdrawal, shutting down completely to avoid discomfort. This creates coldness, leaving her feeling unseen and unheard. Now here's what's right, and what changes everything. When a woman opens up, listen actively but silently. Maintain eye contact. Nod occasionally to show presence, not impatience. Let her speak fully without interruption. This kind of silence tells her, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. It builds trust because your calm energy communicates safety. When it's time to respond, keep your words simple and sincere. You don't need long speeches. Sometimes a gentle, I understand, or that sounds difficult, is enough to make her feel seen. This approach doesn't just calm her emotions, it earns her respect. Correcting the common mistakes starts with emotional discipline. The Stoic man controls his reactions because he understands that emotions are contagious. If she's upset and you respond with agitation, you feed the fire. But if you stay calm, Your energy becomes contagious instead. She starts to mirror your composure. You become the emotional anchor she can rely on. The correction isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about mastering them so they serve, not sabotage, your connection. Another correction involves timing. Sometimes silence is powerful in the moment, but reflection afterwards strengthens it. Once emotions settle, you can revisit the conversation calmly. You might say, "I noticed you were stressed earlier. Do you want to talk about it more now?" That simple follow-up shows emotional intelligence. You're not ignoring her emotions. You're managing them with patience and care. Silence, when used with awareness, becomes a form of leadership. It shows that you don't need control to feel powerful. The wrong kind of silence pushes her away. The cold, dismissive kind. But the right kind of silence draws her closer. The kind that says, "You're safe here. I can handle this." That's Stoic strength in its purest form, calm, composed, and deeply respected. 5. The power of emotional control. Emotional control is one of the hardest things for a man to master, especially when he's in a situation that challenges his ego or patience. It's easy to stay calm when everything's peaceful, but the real test comes when emotions flare, voices rise, or someone you care about starts breaking down in front of you. This is where most men lose themselves, not because they're weak, but because no one ever taught them how to stay composed when emotions run high. Yet, in the eyes of a woman, that's the very moment she learns who you really are. Imagine this. You've had a long day, your energy's low, and then she starts talking, fast, emotional, and full of complaints that seem endless. Your first instinct is to shut it down or argue back. You feel cornered, maybe even disrespected, so you snap. You raise your voice or walk away coldly, thinking that showing emotion is a form of strength. But afterward, you feel it. That emptiness, that sense that something in the connection has shifted. She's quieter now, not because you won, but because she doesn't feel safe anymore. That's the cost of emotional imbalance. It damages the very thing you're trying to protect. Now picture a different version of you. The Stoic version. She's upset again, the energy is heavy, but you stay still. You don't rush to argue or correct her tone. You let her express herself while you breathe deeply, keeping your voice low and your body language calm. You listen without reacting. You may not agree with everything she says, but you don't let that trigger you. Slowly, her energy begins to shift. The more calm you stay, the more grounded she becomes. She's not calming down because you controlled her. She's calming down because you controlled yourself. That's the essence of Stoic emotional power. The truth is, emotional control doesn't mean you suppress how you feel. It means you choose when and how to express it. It's about being intentional. You can acknowledge anger without being consumed by it. You can express frustration without disrespect. When a man learns to stay emotionally centered, he becomes unshakable. Not because he's emotionless, but because he's disciplined. Emotional control also builds respect. Women may not always articulate it, but they deeply admire men who can stay steady under pressure. It signals maturity, strength, and trustworthiness. The man who doesn't lose control becomes a pillar, someone she can rely on when life feels uncertain. It's not about dominance, it's about emotional leadership. The correction here is simple but powerful. Stop reacting, start responding. A reaction is automatic. It's your ego defending itself. A response is conscious. It's your wisdom guiding your behavior. Every time you choose response over reaction, you strengthen your masculine core. You train your emotions to serve your peace instead of disturb it. In the end, emotional control isn't about impressing her. It's about mastering yourself. Because when you do, she feels your steadiness. and that calm becomes her comfort. That's real power. 6. How Stoic Men Respond. Here's where things get interesting. How does a Stoic man actually respond when a woman opens up emotionally? What does he say? What does he do? Because being calm isn't just about sitting there like a statue. It's about being intentionally composed and subtly expressive. The Stoic man's response is never passive. It's precise, meaningful, and full of quiet power. He doesn't react impulsively, but he doesn't disappear either. He responds in a way that makes her feel both understood and drawn to his presence. Let's walk through what this looks like in real life. Imagine she's sitting across from you, clearly emotional. Maybe she's had a rough day, or she's venting about something personal. Most men make one of two mistakes. They either try to fix everything, or they act distant and cold. The Stoic man does neither. He stays present. His eyes stay on her. His breathing stays steady. He listens, and when she pauses, he speaks softly, but with confidence. He might say, "I get why that would bother you," or "That sounds like a lot to handle." Simple statements, but powerful ones, because they tell her he's not judging, he's understanding. This kind of response changes the entire tone of the interaction. Instead of escalating, she softens. Instead of feeling unseen, she feels safe. Stoic men don't feed drama. They dissolve it. Their calm doesn't silence women. It grounds them. And here's the secret. That's incredibly attractive. When a woman feels emotionally safe around a man, her feminine energy naturally expands. She becomes more open, more trusting, more affectionate. That's not manipulation. It's alignment. You're creating an emotional environment where connection thrives naturally. A Stoic man also knows when to use silence strategically. Sometimes the best response is none at all. Just a steady gaze, a reassuring touch, or a simple nod. Silence, when done right, says, "I'm here, I'm listening, and I'm not going anywhere." It's not the silence of neglect, but the silence of confidence. Most men are uncomfortable with emotional pauses. They rush to fill them with words. But the Stoic man knows those quiet moments build the deepest emotional tension. The kind that creates intimacy, not distance. And when advice is needed, the Stoic man gives it gently. He doesn't lecture or say, "You're overreacting." He might ask, "Do you want me to help you figure it out, or do you just need to talk it out?" That question alone separates him from 90% of men. It shows emotional awareness, the ability to sense what she truly needs in that moment. It also makes her feel respected because he's giving her the choice. What makes this so interesting is that Stoic responses aren't about doing less, they're about doing right. Every word, every pause, every tone carries intention. You're not trying to control her emotions, you're guiding the energy of the moment. When you learn to respond like that, calm, confident, and aware, she doesn't just listen to your words, she feels your energy. And that's what makes her stay. 7. Turning moments into connection. Every man has been there. That moment when a woman opens up, emotions running high, and you're unsure what to say or do. You can feel the tension in the room. Maybe she's frustrated about something small. Maybe she's overwhelmed by something bigger. In those seconds, your reaction determines everything. You can either create distance or build connection. Most men unintentionally choose distance because they're uncomfortable with emotion. But the Stoic man, the grounded man, knows how to turn those emotionally charged moments into opportunities for deeper connection. Let's make this practical. Picture this. She's pacing around the room, talking about a problem at work. She's upset, venting, and her words are fast and emotional. You're tempted to interrupt, to explain, to fix, or to calm her down. But instead, you stay still. You let her speak. You listen with your eyes, not just your ears. When she finally pauses, you take a breath and say something simple but genuine like, "That sounds like a lot. I can see why that upset you." You don't try to solve it. You don't change the subject. You just acknowledge what she feels. And right there, the energy in the room shifts. She feels heard, and you've quietly deepened the bond without doing anything grand. Turning moments into connection isn't about strategy. It's about awareness. It's realizing that every emotional moment is a window into her trust. When she opens up, she's not being dramatic. She's showing you the parts of herself she hides from the world. If you meet that moment with impatience, she shuts down. But if you meet it with calm curiosity, she opens further. That's how emotional intimacy is built, not through constant talking, but through the safety of your presence. Being realistic, this isn't easy. There will be days when your patience runs thin. There will be moments when her emotions trigger your own. You might feel disrespected, misunderstood, or overwhelmed. That's normal. The Stoic approach doesn't mean you never feel. It means you never lose control of what you feel. You learn to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, and to lead with steadiness instead of pride. That's how you turn tension into trust. Another key part of creating connection is follow-through. After the storm passes, don't just move on like nothing happened. Maybe later that night or the next day, check in softly. You could say, "I've been thinking about what you said earlier. I hope you're feeling better." That simple act reinforces safety. It shows her that her emotions weren't a burden and that you care enough to remember. It's not grand gestures that create emotional loyalty. It's small moments of consistency. When a woman tells you her problems, she's not looking for a perfect man. She's looking for a steady one. The one who doesn't panic when she's emotional, who listens when she's loud, and who stays calm when things get hard. That steadiness is what makes her trust you, respect you, and stay drawn to you. That's how you turn emotional chaos into connection, by mastering your peace and letting her feel it. In the end, when a woman tells you her problems, it's never just about the problems. It's about trust, emotion, and how you handle both. A Stoic man understands that his power lies not in control, but in composure. He listens without judgment, responds with calm, and turns emotional tension into connection. Every time you choose stillness over reaction, you build respect and intimacy. Remember, she's not testing your ability to fix her life. She's feeling for your ability to stay steady through it. That's what makes a man truly unforgettable.